The monsters are due on Maple Street. Alien thoughts, not alien beings. Maple Street begins with barbecues and ice cream bells. Children are playing. Neighbors are chatting. Routine hums like electricity in the wires. It only takes one disruption, the roar overhead, the flicker of power, for the calm to fracture. Suddenly what was ordinary becomes suspect, and what was neighborly turns hostile. Pete Van Horn goes to check Floral Street, but Pete never makes it back alive. And here's the twist. The monsters aren't in the sky. They aren't in a spaceship or even in a family disguised as humans. The monsters are the neighbors themselves, once their thoughts turn alien to love. What are the aliens in this story? Not creatures from Mars. They are thoughts alien to peace. Thoughts alien to connection. Thoughts alien to the natural innocence that underlies true community. When a thought of suspicion enters, when fear replaces trust, the alien has already landed. It doesn't arrive in a craft, it arrives in a whisper, in a glance, in the sudden willingness to see guilt where none exists. The real invasion is psychological. And what do alien thoughts thrive on? Interruption of routine. As the episode shows, it isn't the flash of light that causes chaos. It's the absence of the familiar hum. The stove stops. The car won't start. The radio falls silent. In that gap, fear rushes in, and the mind looks outward for someone to blame. The writers didn't pick Floral Street by accident. Flowers suggest fragrance, beauty, love, and bloom. But when Pete walks toward Floral, he's struck down before he can return. It's as if the very possibility of love and fragrance is blocked by fear and suspicion. Floral remains a rumor, while Maple descends into madness. This is the irony. The people who could have turned toward fragrance, toward innocence, toward flowers of connection, instead cut themselves off before they could even see it. Alien thoughts stopped them, not alien beings. The scapegoat is the centerpiece of the riot. Les Goodman's car starts mysteriously, so Les becomes the monster. Steve builds a radio, so Steve becomes the monster. Charlie shoots Pete, so Charlie becomes the monster. Tommy reads comic books, so Tommy becomes the monster. It doesn't matter who wears the label, because the ego doesn't care about truth. It only cares about projection. The scapegoat becomes a dumping ground for the fear the neighbors refuse to face in themselves. Rod Serling nailed it. A thoughtless, frightened search for a scapegoat has a fallout all of its own. And isn't that what we see in the world every day? Public scandals, celebrity sacrifices, economic collapses, each one pinned on an individual while the system of fear remains untouched. Whether it's P. Diddy, Bernie Madoff, or the neighbor down the street, the ego keeps feeding on blame. Look closer and you see that Maple Street wasn't really safe before the lights went out. It was safe only because routine was intact. The stove turned on. The car started. The radio played. These were the idols of certainty. The moment the idols failed, the neighbors collapsed because their trust wasn't in love. It was in function. The aliens didn't weaponize guns or bombs. They weaponized interruption. They touched the idol, and the idol fell, exposing the fragility of misplaced faith. At the hilltop, the aliens admit the plan. We'll go from one Maple Street to the next. That's not just a plot device, it's a metaphysical revelation. Every block, every city, every heart has its Maple Street. All it takes is the flicker of the familiar, and alien thoughts will rush in unless love holds its ground. As the aliens say, the pattern is always the same. The people become their own worst enemy. The conquest is psychological, not technological. And Maple Street isn't unique, it's the whole world under the ego's script. What if the neighbors had chosen differently? What if instead of scapegoating they said, We don't know what's happening, but let's stay calm together. The aliens would have had nothing to feed on. The invasion would have ended before it began. Because the truth is simple. Alien thoughts cannot survive where love abides. The miracle would not be the return of electricity or the restarting of cars. The miracle would be the recognition that the enemy was never out there. The enemy was the thought of fear. Remove that thought and Maple Street becomes Floral Street. Suspicion dissolves into fragrance. The monsters are due on Maple Street is not science fiction. It is psychology exposed. It is the ego's script laid bare. The aliens are not extraterrestrial. They are extra-terrifying thoughts, foreign to peace and hostile to connection. The pity, as Serling reminds us, is that scapegoating and suspicion cannot be confined to the Twilight Zone. They live wherever routine is worshipped and love is forgotten. The true Twilight Zone isn't on television. It's the mind when it forgets what it is. And so the final line lands like a prophecy. The tools of conquest do not necessarily come with bombs. They are to be found only in the minds of men. The conquest of Maple Street was never an invasion. It was a decision. And it's the same decision we face every day. To follow alien thoughts of fear or the fragrance of love. Picture, if you will, a street where the lamplight hums with safety, where neighbors smile across fences, where children play without a care. All it takes is the flicker of routine to turn that safety into suspicion. The monsters are not overhead nor underground. They are thoughts, alien to love, alien to trust, alien to peace. And once they are believed, the neighbors become strangers, and strangers become enemies. The true battleground is not Maple Street. It is the mind that chooses between fear and love. And until that choice is made, every street is Maple Street.